The Messerschmitt Me-262 HG3 represented a real chance that Germany could have developed a significant fighter at the end of the Second World War. However, it never reached production. Amusing Hobby has a very fine looking kit of it. Let's have a look at what you get in the box right here on Gary Stuff. Hi, I'm Gary. Welcome to my channel. Welcome back if you've been here before. Today, indeed, I'm looking inside the box of the Messerschmitt Me-262 HG3 in 1/48 scale from Amusing Hobby. If you like the show, and I hope you do, please give it the old imperial thumbs up on the like button below because every like counts. And if you haven't done so yet, support the channel by subscribing to it and hit the bell. Won't cost you a penny, but then you'll get notified of all my future content as it is published. To make a more concrete contribution, please use one of the online partner programs in the information box below. This kit was sent to me by Dane Stewart. So Dane, thank you very much indeed for this, my friend. Okay, let's make a start and have a look at what you get inside the box of the Messerschmitt Me-262 HG3 in 1/48 scale from Amusing Hobby. So here we have the box of the Messerschmitt 262 HG3, a World War II German aircraft, if you didn't already know. Very smart looking box art, quite dynamic looking things. I think maybe the jet exhausts are a little overdone, but you know what? I think they're quite dramatic anyway. Pictured here intercepting a flight of B-36 aircraft over here, which I guess is what the artist suspects these would have been facing had the war continued long enough for the HG3 to even see service. It is by Amusing Hobby, as the logo says here, and the product code for the kit is 48A003, and it says 1/48 World War II. On this side is some of the scheme options. Again, there's a reprise of logo, the product, and the product code. Here's a side-on view of one of the proposed schemes, and the top-down view of this scheme, a top-down view of one of the other schemes they propose. There's a link to the Facebook page for Amusing Hobby by this QR code, and they are mentioning here that all the paints they suggest are the ones by Ammo by Mick Jimenez. The other long side has a third scheme, which actually isn't referenced anywhere else in the kit, but actually is one that I quite like. Again, the logo, title, and product codes. Here it says the box contains parts of one kit, English manual, paint or pannet, and glue not included. And it's for modelers aged 14 and over. That's probably because there are some small parts in there. Definitely keep them away from children up to the age of 5. And there's recycling logos here because polystyrene is recyclable in a lot of places these days. Okay, that's what the box looks like. Let's see what the bits are that you get inside. Here we have frame A. It's the top half of the fuselage and the wings, the tail section, and the interior parts here. This is the cockpit tub. This is some of the interior for the engine, some structure. The gear here, instrument panel, control column, rudder bars, and of course tail planes. In frame B, we have the bottom half of the aircraft and main wings. We have the air inlets. We have the wheels, undercarriage bays, exhausts for the engines, gear doors, and these are parts of the engine that are visible through the side of the gear bay there. So just a couple of bits to sort of show that there's an engine buried in here, which is a nice touch. And then we have frame C, which are the clear parts. All this is the windscreen and canopy, comes as a single unit. And there's the gun sight here as well. We have a close look at the plastic here. You can see the riveting is good, the panel lines are fine. This is 1/48, and these panel lines aren't too deep. They're actually quite nice really. Rivets are fine, plenty of them, even right up against the edge of the windshield here and the bottom of the screen here. That's kind of nice. A little bit of detail on the inside of the back of the cockpit, which is nice to see they've taken the attention to do that as well. There's this stub here for the radio, and there's two tiny little indentations, which is where the loop aerial goes, the direction finding aerial goes. The wings, again, yeah, they're all very nice. Plenty of rivet lines to show off. The control surfaces are set in place, but nice deep recesses here, so they stand out against the rest of the panel lines. And the moulding of the plastic itself looks very good. The only thing I would say is that Amusing Hobby are obviously not believers in removing ejector pin posts here, which is not so much of an issue on some of these interior parts, but here, when it's actually like half of the tailplane, you've got to take those off yourself, which is a bit of a faff. It's not the end of the world, but you do have to keep checking that these are there before you start assembling things, so you make sure you take them out. The one point is the instrument panel here. You can see very, very prominent raised surroundings for the instruments, which will make dry brushing an absolute breeze, and even highlighting some of the instruments as well, the reds and yellows and blues maybe. I'll check out what a 262 roughly looks like, and we can add a few bits and pieces of colour in there if we need to. What's also nice is that they've bothered to model the rear of all the instruments, so I'm guessing you can probably see those from the outside, and they've actually taken the effort to model the actual instrument barrels, as it were, which is a nice touch, I have to say. Overall, there's no flash to speak of. This is I guess these are the inlet fans, or the front end, the compressors for the engines. This is the cockpit tub, and you can see plenty of detail in there we can pick out with some dry brushes and spots of white or colour as well, including the throttles, which are very nicely moulded. But there's no flash at all that I can see on this anywhere. It's nice, it's quite solid plastic, if you know what I mean. It feels like hard to cut, a bit more like sort of Bandai type plastic than Airfix type plastic, but really nicely modelled. And if they're accurately modelled, it should be an absolute breeze to put this together. Okay, we have a look at the decal sheet now. And one thing you do notice straight away is there are absolutely no stencils. There's just a national marking, some squadron markings, and that's it. There's no fuel filler warnings. You know, typically you see those sort of triangles or circles with like a triangle with 87 in it or whatever. Won't be 87 octane fuel for here, for example. But you know, there are often many stencils on German aircraft. Even no step or step up this side of the line, no lines denoting where people are allowed to stand. None of that's here. So these are just purely squadron codes and national codes. But you know, that's what they chose to do. The swastikas are taken in halves, and you sort of take them off and cross them over. You can just see the white lines on the edge here stop, so that you know when you put them on, the swastika ends up completely surrounded by white lines. Not sure what happens on this one, mind you, because the black lines are still there. And then there's sort of standard crosses, national symbols, and whatever. So I suppose the most detailed is the logo here. But anyway, let's have a closer look just to double check on things like registration. It's difficult to say much about the quality of the decals when you know there's no real print here. It's just big print. It's big edgy print. The edges of these threes looks like there's an underprint of white, then an overprint of red, and the red just slightly goes over the print that's underneath. That gives like a brightness to the red that you might not get just with the pure ink on its own. I would kind of expect, yeah, there's a little bit of evidence of that on the yellow as well. It's been underprinted in white, which is fine, which is absolutely grand to do that, because you do get a nice brighter look. And I don't think at this scale you're going to notice it once it's on the plane either. All the rest is just very sharp. As I say, on here you can see the white bands around the swastika stop at the crossover point, so you can lay them over and it will follow. It doesn't appear here to be the case, and these look a bit sort of dotted line. Maybe the print isn't quite so good. The print resolution looks a bit dotty, if you see what I mean. On there, so it looks elsewhere. Yeah, it looks a bit. It looks very much like these aren't sort of screened stencils. These look a bit sort of line printed, maybe. I don't know. Very strange. The blacks and the whites match up reasonably well. Maybe a tiny bit of overbleed on the black at the bottom of the crosses, but nothing significant. Yeah, they're okay. They're good. They're fine. They're not up to cartograph standards, for example, but they're okay. They'll do for what they are, I'm sure. The carrier film looks reasonably thin as well, so they should lay down nicely onto the model. The instruction sheet is printed in full colour at the front and at the back, so you can get the colour schemes in. Reprise of the box art here, actually really nice looking image of the aircraft. Some basic instructions here, and the assembly codes here, all the sort of symbology here. Interesting that they say apply cement, and then there's another one for superglue, two different icons. So, you know, you're expected maybe to be using superglue. I don't know. Another thing that is quite interesting here is it does talk about allowing the glue to dry. It depends on the type of glue. 2 to 3 minutes for superglue, cyanoacrylate CA glue, or 10 to 20 minutes for polycement. A hairdryer is used for quick hardening. Interesting that they would say that. Inside you have the frame map and the reprise of the decals, which is all very nice. And then you have the instructions. It appears basically you create the whole of the base and then the whole at the top and glue the two together. Then a few extra bits and then whack on the tailplane, and that's it. I mean, it's really not that much to do, which is okay. The colour schemes at the back, there are two given here. These are completely sort of fictitious aircraft, of course, so you know you can do what you like, really. These are late war schemes, typical late war schemes. The colour callouts are here, all in ammo by MiG paint tones, and there's also, interestingly, down here some suggested weathering materials as well. It's kind of an interesting addition. And on the back is another scheme. On the box, there was a third scheme, which is all over RLM 76 with lots and lots of like mottling, which I'll check out again and maybe have a nose around the amusing hobby site and see if that related to another boxing perhaps, because that actually quite cool. But this is quite tempting to do as a scheme like this with the. I do like this mottling effect the Germans used at the bottom of the camouflage striping, and that sort of brown, violet, and green is really nice. I used it on the Me-163 some time ago. I kind of like that, so maybe that's the one I'll go for. Although they do, you know, you do end up painting this red and blue thing there. I don't know whether I'll bother with that or not. Anyway, that's probably the basic scheme I'll go for, and then I can modify it however I like, because of course this isn't actually historically accurate at all because it never went into service. Anyway, that's the instructions. There we have it. It's a fine looking plastic, it's a good looking mould, and it's a really interesting subject, so I'm hoping it'll go together as good as it looks. If you'd like to find out whether or not it does, do come back for the build video. Best way to see when that comes out is to subscribe to the channel hit that bell and you'll be notified of all my future content as it's published. And of course, anything you like on my channel, please do give it the old imperial thumbs up on the like button below, because every like counts. Thank you so very much for being with me today. Hope to see you again very soon on the channel. Take good care now, and goodbye.